other submissions for personal appearances, so we'll go on this morning. We are on miscellaneous and discussion items. Is there anything that was not on the agenda that somebody wants to say something about? Alderman Fuller.
Could we have city staff check with Guinness to see if this could be one of the longest city council meetings on record?
You know, I asked about that, and somebody opined that there was one way longer than this. So I'm not sure if we're even, in the record-setting zone at all, Alderman Fuller. So.
Oh, God, we're awake. We're here. It happened. It's over finally.
We're doing live coverage
my gosh.
of city council today.
What happened? We made it.
We're supposed to be doing live coverage, man.
Oh, gosh, that
was a long one.
Almost 7 hours.
Good job by everyone staying mostly alert.
Yeah, well, mostly. At the end, it kind of went off the rails a hair there.
As would be expected. There was a lot of work that was done. Good job. Shout out to everybody that stayed there.
Yeah.
That were not required. Shout out to city staff.
Yeah, for putting
Jennifer Clean deserves a bonus, a raise. If she's salary, I'm sorry. They did you wrong.
You guys that are salary city staff that had to sit through that one last night.
They're talking about the budget. And they're paying a bunch of overtime.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys calculate that for next year's budget.
Yeah, for 26, add on the extra couple hours that'll be needed for the budget meeting.
If you can believe ChatGPT, which is not suggested, one source claims a small town in California. This is just hilarious. Held a city council meeting that lasted 75 days over whether to allow a second Walmart. And if there's something that sounds relatable to our city council, it would be that.
That's some stuff, yeah. We would have, just imagine if that would have came up over summer.
I mean, because, back in the day, there was the idea of a Sam's Club. And there was a lot of discussion on that, but we didn't quite get to 75 days at one city council meeting.
No. And of course, they're not there for a continuous 75 days straight. They take pauses at night and come back the next day.
It was also mentioned that someone observed a meeting that lasted until 3:15 a.m. We were not far off. We were 3 hours away.
Yeah, it was about 12:20 something this morning when finally wrapped up. Yeah.
Yes, Mayor Janser said it well.
9 hours ago from right now, it was still going on in full force. So if anyone's still asleep, I don't blame you, frankly.
Yeah, I felt bad for, first off, not picking. I understand that there's perhaps something that could be done systematically too on having a hearing one day and having but I understand that the council put in a lot of work, so I'm not criticizing the time it took.
For sure.
I felt bad for city staff because I'm sure some of them have to be there at 8 a.m. the next morning. And
I hope they got a pass for today or a waiver or something.
That's what I'm hoping. Yeah,
it's a half day on Tuesday or something this week because man, that was a late night for them. Like for me yesterday, we had a football game that I had to coach, and long story short, it got rained out, canceled, lightning.
So it wasn't a long story.
Well, I can tell you the whole talk about how we were hanging out for so long, had to run back and forth. I got soaking wet, but we're not here. So I get home. I finally get to watch City Council around 7 o'clock.
Yay.
So it's about, it's an hour and a half at that point.
You missed half City Council meeting already.
So I'm watching it at like 1.2 speed. So it's a little faster than normal. And what time did I text you last night? At like 11:45. I finally caught up to the live. To the live.
Only 1.2 speed. It should have taken them forever. I guess it did.
So the council meeting outlasted my my delay even. But hey,
way to go!
It was a marathon of a meeting. They got some stuff done. They made some amendments to the budget. My most notable thing took place at 11:50 last night when Alderman Scott Samuelson motioned to have Minot effectively stop paying the dues for the League of Cities that we're in.
Yeah, so it should end the membership with the League of Cities.
Yeah. I don't believe it takes place today, but I would say as soon as that membership renewal is due, that we will no longer be a part of it.
And a lot of that revolved around the lack of advocacy around the property tax caps that went into place. League of Cities did not. The feeling was that the League of Cities did not
even take a neutral stance on it. They
Right.
took a pro stance
They're
for
like,
it.
that's
and-
fine. Just give us a seat at the table, trying to direct the conversation, and they weren't able to direct it much. And so, kind of a shocker at the end.
Yeah, I
didn't
was
see it coming.
I was a little floored that popped up at 11:50.
Honestly, I thought it would have been hilarious if perhaps at 11:50 there would have been a motion to not fund the Minot Chamber EDC.
Yeah, right.
It wouldn't have passed. I'm not advocating for that, but that is something that has come up in the past, and we'll talk about it. But there was definitely a huge focus by the Chamber EDC to show up and explain why the impact is so important to the Minot community, and something that doesn't always happen. So kudos to them. Way to go. You had 3 people from the board or president of the chamber that stayed till the end of the budget hearing, which did not, or not into the hearing, but also into the budget discussion, which didn't get done till, like you said, 11:50 or so. So that was a way to go by them.
Yeah, that was props to everyone that stayed throughout the entirety of action item 7.4, which in itself
Lot of
lasted
action.
a total of what? 5 hours probably?
Yeah.
5.5 hours for one action item, but of course it was the budget that was effectively recut up. And now,
When we say we're going to get clips of city council, they do something like this to us.
yeah, they hit us with a 7-hour meeting.
So we have a couple clips. We don't have many.
One big thing to take away from everything else besides the League of City thing, where the final numbers are starting to look like they're coming in at, it looks like it's probably going to be about a 2% tax decrease from last year on your property tax bill. So it's not a ton.
As of right now.
As of right now. And things are still subject to change over the next, through October, 10th is the due date for it. So nothing set in stone as of yet, but
October 6th is going to be a very important city council meeting.
Yeah.
If there's another one you wanted to show up to,
It'll be
maybe
that
that
one.
one. That's where they're going to finish. Well, they'll probably talk about it more at the next city council meeting. But that is the one that they will.
yeah, that's one you're going to really see a lot of work and effort coming
And
into on that
I'm
one.
misspeaking because this is a long month, so my days got messed up. That is the next city council meeting, and so that will be the one where they finish hashing out the budget.
Yep. Unless another special meeting is called between now and then,
Right.
which, do you want to get into that or do you want to start?
Well, we talked about that yesterday.
Yeah.
But it did sound like there was a chance that another special meeting could be called. But honestly, if
And-
they don't, they could go for another. They could go till midnight again.
Yeah, that's
because
the thing.
This budget is not. It did not feel like this is getting close to being wrapped up.
No, it feels like there's still stones left to be unturned and a lot more discussion to happen still on it. And one thing that I just want to say, and I know this is something that they really have to take seriously, and we should, but do we really need to have the entire meeting that includes amendments and everything take place directly after the 2-hour public
Right.
hearing? Would it not be pertinent for everyone to finish the meeting at that point, go home, reflect and rest on what they've had, and then a day or two later come back and really finish that meeting?
Yeah, and that's a hard one. It's a hard one because I hear you. I don't know if they anticipated that much.
Yeah, I don't think
Long.
it's...
Even, and I think maybe Mayor Ross did it when he was mayor. So former Mayor Tom Ross did it, where he capped the amount that people could talk in that public hearing, because that was part of the problem.
Yeah,
there's
you
no
had people
cap.
go on for... I don't know specifically, but 20, 30 minutes isn't far off for a couple of them.
It felt that long for
Yeah.
sure.
And before we get into that public hearing section, there's a couple interesting things that took place before that by a couple. I mean, we bought a new bus. It was a refurbished bus
We bought a new bus.
for $650,000, saved a few
It
hundred
was a
thousand.
steal, bro.
It was. That's what they all made it sound like. Got a great deal on that. There was a really cool, they played the national anthem. The Minot Symphony Orchestra had some people come
Yeah,
into
I was there
council
for that.
chambers yesterday.
It was
Yeah,
awesome.
you were there for part of the meeting. That's the thing. Jonathan
man.
was there for like an hour and a half and missed almost all of it.
Yep. I was there for a while.
And no, you have, the other interesting was that local preference bid. That action item came up early too.
Yep. Local preference bid came up early.
Yeah.
They're having to rework it still, but it sounds like they're really trying to make progress on that. Basically, if a bid is within a 5% tolerance, then the local contractor would have the option to meet it. What they're trying to do is tie down some language to see if bid,
how you define a local contractor,
and how you would have to match it. Is
Yeah.
it just a pure dollar amount, or a concern was that
you have to include those like third-party services as well.
because you may meet the bid amount, but your cost per foot on the example was a water main, your cost per foot of pipe is more expensive than the low bid, but you're going to match the total amount because somewhere else you're saving money. However, that would work on the bid sheet. So then if they used you to continue the project because it was more than was needed or whatever, continued using services, then it would end up costing the city much more money. So that was a concern to understand how that language should work. Feelings began to be felt that perhaps this is just a lot of bureaucracy getting in the way here, and maybe we should just keep it as the low bid. So that there's still a lot of discussion that's going to happen on how that looks. Because it'll be interesting to see what the vote looks like.
Yeah, because in the end, this was tabled.
It was.
Yeah,
it was to get that, and I believe it comes back on the 6th.
That was either the 6th or the 23rd.
No, it was going to be the 23rd, and then
they just decided the 6th.
Blessing was like, "All right, the 6th will
just
be fine."
Do it then. Okay.
Because he was concerned that it was going to be a long meeting.
Yeah, great. And then look what this one ended up doing.
But I believe it's going to come back on the 6th.
This officially takes the cake as the longest meeting we've covered in our time.
Does. It's an interesting deal though. So you obviously have this is action that was spurred on by Alderman Rob Fuller, and just looking at the council and hearing the conversation at this preliminary discussion that's on this actual recommendation. Looks like Blessem was somewhat in favor of it, although the details need to be worked out.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and I really look forward to see how it kind of progresses into that next stage.
And then you have, it felt like Janser's probably not for it. I'm not sure where Pittner stands. If Lisa Olson is not for it, she stated that, which is great. So basically, the vote is going to come down to probably where Hayes and Pittner falls on it.
And see, before we dive into the rest of this, that's one really interesting point is the Mike Hayes thing. This was our first meeting to really see how he's going to interact with council.
Yeah.
And he had some really interesting votes take place. He didn't necessarily fall one way or the other. He went on to, I don't want to say both sides of the aisles because that's not right, but both sides of the factions.
Right.
And he took a couple interesting stances as well last night. I was a little surprised when this is cutting ahead, but when he voted in favor of the League of Cities situation, that was a little surprising with just how new he is to the council.
Right. And I think as we begin to build, not like literally a profile, but kind of a profile around each council person where you begin to kind of understand where they're coming from. Yeah. So when
where their principles generally lie.
Exactly. So you have a topic comes up, you're like, all right, this person typically falls in this area, so this is where I'd anticipate. And then you hear them say where they're at, and so you're not trying to put words in their mouth at all, but you just get those profiles that are created based off what they've said over time. And it's difficult, and it's young still, but it's been a little bit difficult to fully create that
so far. Yeah.
That profile. Couple comments come in. Zach Lutz mentions needs a nap after that meeting last night. Yeah, I think I took one. I don't even know. It would have to be considered a nap though, not a full night's rest. And someone else that didn't get a full night's rest was Alderwoman Lisa Olson, who said for years there were 2 separate meetings, but more recently only a few had come to testify. Right, and that's kind of the deal is there. Sometimes it might fill up, but not many people testified. But last night there was a lot of
about 2. Also, real quick, Lisa, thank you for waking up early to watch us.
After
last night, that was a long night for you.
Kyla will take the credit that you woke up specifically to watch us. But thank you for waking up and watching us.
But no, that makes sense because especially when you have about 2 hours of testimony, that's something that's hard to really foresee. I mean, you want to see people show up, but to see 2+ hours worth of people talking, that's a little harder to foresee coming.
We'll talk about that specifically. Darlene says they need to have their immediate reaction and questions out there after what they hear in public comment. And that's the hard part.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because that first reaction, gut feelings, is really important to be seen, to kind of gauge how much your input matters, for one, and then see what their reaction is to it. So interesting stuff there. But public preference,
Yeah.
that'll be interesting to see what happens
Without
on that.
a doubt, when that one
Or
finally
contractor preference.
comes back around to see the light of day. And then after that, the third action item was removed, which we mentioned yesterday.
Yep.
And that leads to the public hearings.
Yes, the public hearings. So they went for a while. What we did is, rather than go and give a synopsis of every single public hearing, which we have done in the past, where we just pulled a couple. We each pulled one notable one that we thought was interesting. But before we jump into that, what was very interesting about this was
There was 20 people to speak at the public hearing last
20
night.
people spoke.
Yeah.
Wow. And a lot of them came from the Minot Chamber EDC. There was a specific focus that was had from that group, which is fine. And that was most likely coming after the previous motion about defunding the Minot Chamber EDC. That came up not in this budget cycle, but
last year, almost
last year,
probably around a year ago at this point.
and they came out to explain why the Minot Chamber was important. And specifically, so there's that. And then the second thing is the economic development that has been talked a lot about with the half cent sales tax and reallocating those funds. They were also focusing on that a lot. And you had like Stephanie Shanerock with Visit Minot that showed up to talk about that specifically. And you had other community contributors such as Roscoe Striley that was there to talk about that. So definitely the economic development, I think
That was one of the biggest parts of that public hearing.
number one
Yeah.
thing. Number one was economic development.
Yeah.
Number two was just the chamber trying to show their support of why they were, but they were there for both reasons. And that's because also we can't forget that in the weeks leading up, it was also kind of talked about being a double public hearing for the budget and for the economic, or for that
The sales tax reallocation. Yeah.
Yep.
And that was probably the third item that you saw come up most frequently in that public hearing, was people talking about the potential reallocation of that
Right.
sales tax.
Which the economic development played into that, because that's where
Yeah,
those funds
exactly.
currently went.
They're completely linked between the two, fully so. You had State Senator Jose Castaneda up there last night,
Yeah.
friend of the show. He was talking about that. Wait, that's mine, right?
That
Is that
one-
my clip?
Yeah,
I
that's your
forgot.
clip.
Yeah, never. I'm not going to
Yeah.
spoil it. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly, buddy. We're going to go to a clip right now. This is Ryan Ackman talking about the chamber.
The final thought that I want to share with you is one related to the business advocacy work of the Minot Area Chamber EDC. This was a provocative thing that we kind of got cross-threaded with in the council several months ago. But one of our key purposes as an organization is to advocate for our member investors and to relay their positions on important policy matters. Like I said, we did get cross-threaded with some on the council as it relates to Measure 4. Our board took a position in opposition to Measure 4. We used privately raised, non-governmental funds to oppose it to the level of, I believe it was $5,000. In the council meeting that followed, there were some fireworks. There was a motion to basically defund our organization. The motion failed, but I'm just going to call them maybe suggestive swipes at our organization continued in the work of the Economic Development Committee. I think we're referred to as maybe lightheartedly as a two-headed monster, which maybe was to imply that it was inappropriate for us as the Chamber EDC to take a public policy stance when we're under contract to perform services for the city of Minot. But I want to explain our board position on that particular matter. Our position is that we're a contractor performing a service for the city of Minot for a fee. We have a contract in place with deliverables, and we get paid as an organization to provide services. In that regard, we're not markedly different than the contractor that you would hire for like sewer repairs or the dealership you purchase vehicles from. I don't think this body would place similar restrictions on their rights to free speech if their views were different than your personal views on a policy question. As a ridiculously hypothetical example, I think it would be really inappropriate if Mayor Janser or Alderman Pittner attempted to blacklist a business that advertised a Rob Fuller for mayor sign in front of it. That'd be ridiculous to do that and absolutely inappropriate. But again, just an example that I want to throw out there to try and illustrate our perspective from the Chamber EDC.
So interesting comments. And the thing that stood out to me about this is there's a word that's used often, and that is the word partner. And
Howdy, partner.
right, but wake up for a minute and think about this.
Sorry.
When talking about Visit Minot, when talking about the Minot Chamber, when talking about really anything when it comes to economic development, when it comes to these, we want to partner with people, we are partners, we are whatever, even the one brand thing that came about a few years ago, and all important things. And I don't think Mr. Ryan Ackerman is trying to go against that thought. But he tries to break it down in a very simple way. That way it can be easily understood. But he says simply, the board views that we're just a contractor with the city. I think that's a dangerous thought for them, because that means it's a lot easier to let go of a contractor than it is to let go of a partner
Yeah.
when you have a unified mission.
No, because partnerships are going to be like an intertwined kind of party. Like it's something
Exactly.
that you're working together, lockstep kind of thing to get a similar or same goal accomplished.
And a contractor, if you don't agree with something, you can be like, dude, you guys do good work. I just don't agree with it. So I don't think we don't have always have the same goals in mind, whether it's the money that I'm giving you that you're using to accomplish your goals, or whether it's your own money, or however you're getting money. We just aren't working to accomplish the same goals. And I'm not saying by any means that the city should cut ties with Minot Chamber EDC. The Minot Chamber EDC does good work. They do a lot of good things in the city. But like, I feel like that's a thing that needs to be careful about, because otherwise there's some people that feel very passionate about Measure 4 and how that happens. And part of what the chamber does is advocacy. And there's going to come a time where they become, as Ryan Ackerman used the word, cross-threaded again, where they're going to be advocating for something different than what the city of Minot wants, perhaps. And if that happens and it's just a contractor, then there's a chance that, hey, we'll find a different contractor to fulfill that role for us. Whereas if it's a partnership, it's like, hey guys, we don't really enjoy that you guys are doing this. And then there's feedback. Well, this is part of, we're getting feedback from here, and there's different dialogue that happens.
Yeah. With a partnership, they're almost going to be working together to get back on the same page for that mission.
Right.
With a contractor status, you're not necessarily bound to any kind of force to be on the same page past your contracted duties at that point.
I'm playing semantics. It's a game of semantics right there. But I think if there is a change of approach where it's not a partner, it is a contractor, then that's something that is going to be notable in future conversations that happen. I don't think that there really is. I think there is a goal. There was a goal in his words of trying to really just simplify of how the relationship is. Like, at the end of the day, you give us money and we do work, is what he's trying to explain. But I'm curious of how that's going to actually hit home.
Because that again, just using the contractor terminology or calling themselves a contractor makes a difference in that regard. I feel like it really takes it, I don't want to say to a different level, but it just makes it opens up the possibility for an easier out, I guess.
Yep. Another public hearing that stood out was one by somebody we had on the show last week.
Yes, State Senator Jose Castaneda.
Yeah.
District 40.
We love you, Jose.
Yeah,
Hopefully you still like us after today.
I think you will.
Yep. All right, here we go.
I really do believe that we need economic development, and it should come from pennies on sales tax, because that is a direct reflection of the work they're doing. I would argue that if for some reason this council decides that we no longer need to fund it, or at least not fund it from public dollars, then I suppose that we no longer need that penny, and we should lower the sales tax by said penny, because we're no longer using it for that purpose. I don't think that's the best idea, but if you're no longer going to use it, don't start pulling it out of a different fund. You don't need it, get rid of the penny. But I really do believe we need it.
Boom.
You get to go and get it because you were clipped, but I want to say one thing. Thank you for showing up and talking, because sometimes it feels like the different political subdivisions go and get stuck in their area. and they don't cross over, even though in their area they preach, hey, we need people to show up. And then there's not always that cross.
You don't necessarily always see
crossover
them
that you
show up. Yeah.
Yeah. And so shout out to him for showing up, and at least as a citizen. He wasn't necessarily even speaking as a senator, although you're a senator, so that title that title is going to follow you no matter what. But he's trying to speak as a citizen on what his feelings are. But go ahead and actually break it down.
Yeah, so had some interesting points there because he's coming out very much in favor of economic development, which is not necessarily a shock. I mean, if you watch the public hearings, as we've discussed and will continue to discuss, that was a pretty common theme last night in them, was economic development is largely in favor from the people that are discussing it. However, his big thought, and I'm remotely intrigued by it, is, if we're not going to fund that, and he said penny, but in this case, it's 15% of a penny?
Right.
If we're not going to use that for the economic development, then you should just remove it. And that's an interesting concept, that instead of, because at this point we've been discussing adding an additional 50-cent sales tax to help alleviate some of that stuff. And he's saying, hey, this should be used specifically and solely for that. And if we don't, we should just give it back to the people in essence.
And I'm curious, because there's a couple thoughts I have on this. But first off, I'm curious if he's more coming from the standpoint of, or the perspective of, you should give it back to the people to let them vote on, which has been talked about as well by the council, to let them vote on if they want to continue it and what the new purpose would be. There's the feeling that was mentioned by Alderman Hayes at a later vote when they talked about actually putting in another 0.5% sales tax. That was actually a motion that came up.
Yeah, gosh, we haven't even talked about that yet.
These pennies, when you get a sales tax like that, it does not fall off. It just stays there forever. And that's a really great point. And that may be what Senator Castaneda was kind of like
alluding to a
little bit, like, hey, if we're not going to use it for what we were going to use it, let's just take it away then. And you guys can start from the ground zero and try to get your 0.5% for whatever you want.
And start almost rebuilding that funding source at that point.
For me personally, and I like Jose Castaneda.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not trying to slam him. So I don't think he'll feel that way. But it's like, it was difficult for me to see the senator title removed, and there's already the 3% cap that's been imposed on the city, and so then it's another revenue stream that's like, give that up too, and it's like just really difficult right now for the city. But I understand that he is speaking more as a citizen than as a senator. And so that's a very important thing for people to remember as they consider those thoughts.
And we discussed it with him last week.
We did. So you can go back and watch that, right?
And there's a couple, and just one thing to kind of roll off of that. It really feels like he was of the mindset that, maybe the cap could use some adjusting.
Yeah, last week he was.
To put it, vaguely. I think
he's open to it for sure.
Yeah. I would definitely expect to see something come from that in the next cycle, but we've harped on that.
We're going to go take a 1:15 break, and then we will talk about, we're past the public hearing now. We'll talk about the straight budget after that.
All right.
Enjoy Minot's finest authentic Mexican cuisine with a view at Mi Mexico. The rooftop patio is open and ready for you to enjoy a margarita or other cool refreshment along with genuine mouth-watering Mexican entrees. Mi Mexico, South Broadway.
In the demanding world of oil and gas, precision, safety, and efficiency are non-negotiable. Unmanned operator drone services revolutionizes how you monitor, inspect, and manage your operations. With cutting-edge technology and expert operators, we deliver real-time data, detailed reports, and actionable insights for our valuable clients. Why risk the safety of your team or waste precious time? Our drones access even the most challenging areas with ease, reducing downtime and enhancing safety across your sites. We take the guesswork out of your projects by offering LiDAR, mapping, and inspection services so that your projects stay safe, on budget, and on time. Unmanned operator drone services, where technology meets safety, precision, and efficiency. Contact us today to elevate your operations. Yes, pun intended.
We're back. And Jonathan said he wanted to get out of the public hearings, but I had another comment or two I wanted to make on it.
What a guy. What a guy.
I'm delaying everything. I just wanted to say it was, first off, I love to see people get up and speak.
Yeah,
I think it was great that we had 20 people up there.
It was. We even had some listeners when they show up there.
Yes, yeah, we had some viewers. Great to see you guys up there and about. The one thing that I think we've made a little notable at this point that I find interesting is just who a lot of the people were that were up there speaking. A lot of these people are
He wants to go back to this. 'cause we
impactful and
mentioned this at the
to
beginning.
a degree influential, and I think that was interesting that they found that this was the time to come speak their minds. And I really
Well, I think though, because I've thought a lot about this, and I think the council is in some areas where it's starting, whether for better, for worse, or for otherwise. Okay, this is not me getting into my opinion on this. If forced to, I may consider giving it. But they are getting into the core of Minot that cares a lot and making them get out and speak. And I think that's interesting. Some would say that's a good thing. Doesn't mean that we need to change everything.
No.
Doesn't mean that economic development pennies need to go somewhere else. But it's making them come up and say, this is why we need it.
it's driving discussion and
It is.
conversation.
Again, with key stakeholders.
Yes. And again, like it's people that I don't want to say
Don't say
it's
that.
people that are able to help drive Minot's economy more than other people
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
And that brings up another interesting discussion that you probably would want to talk about in itself.
One more before I have to get onto that though, and it's my slight dig I have to take from public hearings.
All right.
I got to take a
Take it.
little one here. It's at Trinity. The CEO of Trinity wanted to speak last night, and he prepared a letter, but he was too busy in DC to read it himself. So he had
I'll get you.
one of the
DC.
new Trinity HR people speak about
DC,
it. So.
it got some shout outs.
It did a couple times. There was a lot of talk about Task Force 21
It
too.
was.
People talking
Okay.
good and bad about it. It was all over.
Yeah, it was. It was everywhere. All right. Is that
That's
that
my
concludes
final.
our public
where,
hearing?
where do you want to go to next, John?
Let's go to the budget, man.
All right. The first big thing that comes out, Minot PD needs a new bomb truck.
Yeah, that was
That
like
was
right
like-
away we drop a bomb here, right at the beginning of this deal. It felt pretty unexpected by the council people.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of conversation that hung around. But we actually have reached out to Chief Fry because there's a different philosophy, which is good because you have a new chief that's trying to be implemented in the police department. And so part of the reason why a new bomb truck is needed is because there's a chance it will be used more. His viewpoint is that when we get on some of these calls that are more contentious, that we don't have them on standby and backup at the shop. They're getting rolled out. So that way, if we're in danger, we're ready to rock, not waiting till we know
It's too late.
there is danger and then we're going to roll it out. And so it sounds like a different philosophy that is taken. Probably a little bit of small town Minot been safe over in, things are changing dramatically.
It sounds like he wants to be a little bit more proactive with some of the law
Right.
enforcement that's taking place. Doesn't want to be, I don't want to say lackadaisical, that's not the best word for it, but doesn't want to have equipment sitting around not being used when it not only could, but likely should be used in some certain instances.
Right.
When instead of it being used approximately once a month, it could be used closer to like once a week at this stage.
Right, absolutely. So that's definitely a change, and I look forward to having him on to kind of talk about that more, just to kind of understand his philosophy, what his goals are. I think it's important. He is someone, as other chiefs have been, but it seems like a priority that he has is making sure that he is in the middle of the people, that he is there trying to build those community relationships, and I think that is not something that will go away.
No.
We're not going to see an overly armored police department or something like that. I think he still has a focus of staying connected with the people that he's trying to protect.
Yeah, and that was going on a similar vein to that. There was a lot of interesting discussions that came up about that a little bit too. Him talking about how he wants to be a good recruiter for the city of Minot and the police department, and how he thinks that having these positions, so there's a lieutenant position and a admin position, for lack of a better term, that are available that were originally by the city manager's first budget was going to be cut out. Then at the city president's budget was then seconded or was then re-brought back in because Chief Fry thinks that these are things that are not only needed, but vital to the recruitment of Minot as well, and getting people into the police department, having people have faith that Minot is trying to give enough to the PD as well, and not just feel like it's a take kind of thing and keep forcing people out, because at this point now we're near 20 officers down for where we should be.
It's insane.
So if you can hire and guarantee you get a lieutenant in that position, I feel like that's probably better than hoping you get a couple officers, which also Chief Fry apparently couldn't go too deep into it, but he was talking about how about in a month, he says he's going to have some changes coming, and not maybe changes, but more, it sounded like he was going to have an influx of people coming into the department.
Well, hey.
Was what it was alluded to, but again, he couldn't dive too deep into that.
Not
But I
really
really
good.
think that was an intriguing discussion, because it went further than just funding the positions. It went talking about new equipment as well.
Yeah.
And that was one big thing, was the VERF, the Vehicle Equipment Replacement Fund.
Huge discussion. Probably the number one discussion that has gone on around this whole budget has been the VERF.
Yep. And
One
I
of the
don't,
most contentious areas, other than
the sales tax discussion.
which is almost its own discussion that is creeping into budget. VERF is directly because of the budget.
Yep. The VERF thing is really interesting because it creates and we discussed this yesterday, a long-term plan to help fund vehicle equipment replacement. And again, it's no guarantee that when you start this program, you're going to use all of the funds in it every year. So a lot of people could argue that, you're just putting money away for nothing to a certain degree. And if you want to do it, which is what they're effectively ended up doing in the long run, is just taking the money from reserves and paying for the new equipment directly. And that's probably a fair way to look at it. I mean, that's where we're going now. And again, this took a lot of roundabout to finally get this done yesterday.
Yeah.
Like they had to come back. This is taking place at like 8. They had to come back at like 11:30 or something to
Right.
have the discussion about it. But
Yeah, it's insane.
they are going to get a lot of the big equipment replaced, and this is across the entire city, not just the PD. They're going to have a lot of equipment replaced. There's going to be, I think, a couple million in replacements that's going to come out of the reserves, but it took a lot of discussion to get to that point.
It did. What's your opinion of the VERF? Where do you stand on it?
Okay, first off, I'm all for replacing the equipment that needs it right now.
Yeah.
Generally,
Which really isn't even the central theme of the discussion.
No.
The whole central theme of that discussion is not, we'll still replace our vehicles. We're just going to make the decision of whether we should buy them now, or if
try to set up this VERF thing.
yeah, or if we're like, well, let's wait a year on that vehicle. We'll find a way to skip by.
Because they have a whole new prioritization scale that they pretty much have come out with that says, if certain vehicles that have, it shows which vehicles are a priority that need to be either replaced or overhauled, kind of thing.
Right.
And that was a really interesting discussion with all of that too, because it's across the entire city where
Right.
the fleet manager is going to be taking care of a lot of
Which
that
I think is
stuff.
a great thing.
I
So
agree.
The VERF, I don't think I'm like mixed on it. Overall, I think I'm a fan of it. I think I do like the idea of it, but
Yeah,
I don't.
I never got answered.
Yeah, you never did. You jumped into some stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think I don't believe that it's going to save us that much money. I'm in that boat or whatever. I think it might make some of the items a little bit more easy to purchase, which is also something that fights. That's where I fight at. Mentally, I'm going through gymnastics trying to figure it out, because it makes things more easily to purchase, which I'm not for. I think everything should be looked at instead of just always having the money to make that purchase. And so right there, I might lean 55% against the VERF, with 45% for it, because I do agree with the idea that, hey, we should have money set aside for, so when we make these big purchases, we have money for it.
It doesn't have to always come right out of the reserves, because I think it was Finance Director Lakefield made a good point that's been made throughout all summer. We have a new PD building and we have a bridge replacement that are coming up a lot sooner than anticipated.
And now we have
those
the
things-
VERF,
Yes.
which is kind of ironic. It's coming out of reserves.
And also-
That's where that money would come from anyways.
Yeah. And there was another conversation that I just want to touch on really fast with the VERF too. It was from new Alderman Mike Hayes, and he was discussing, potential payment sources. He was getting a little bit more familiar with the VERF coming into the situation now. And he brought up the idea, hey, why can't we just fund the VERF through reserves? Almost like you're using the legacy fund at the state level to pay off the property taxes based off of the, the surplus from it. This would be a sort of equivalent of, hey, why don't we use Minot's reserves, since Minot consistently comes in over or under budget, so we keep adding in. We just use that to fund it. And
Right.
there's
That's basically what happened off of Janser. Janser said there's an idea that really hasn't been presented. This is this, and then Olson made the motion.
Yep.
And it happened.
But this was, instead of just paying for the things out of the reserve every time, this is to fund the VERF through reserve funds.
Right.
Solely. So like if we get money, if we get $1 million into reserves this year, 50% of that would go to the VERF kind of thing to fund it. Something
Yeah.
along that was never fleshed out too deep, but I just thought that was a really interesting little side thing there.
Yeah. Because that's how the VERF is being funded out of reserves, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. So VERF, that was an interesting topic. What's another interesting topic that happened in the budget?
Oh gosh, after that, there was the forced vote on the sales tax
This
addition.
was an incredible thing that happened.
Yeah.
And it was basically just a attempt to force the hand because there's been so much talk about what are we going to do with the 0.5% sales tax? Nothing has to be done, but there's been a lot of conversation had around it. And so when the idea was to take the existing 0.5% sales tax and reallocate it, by Alderman Rob Fuller, Alderman Paul Putner presented the idea of creating a new 0.5% sales tax. Both of these are trying to help cover the PD and some of their costs. And it's public safety is more general. You're seeing this happen in other taxing authorities throughout the state, for better or for worse. In this case, we don't want to follow the rest of the state, I guess, since that'll come up. Somebody compared us to smaller towns, though. Like typically, we're always trying to be like the big towns, but someone, I
And
think in
this
the
one,
public
it was-
hearings, someone was trying to compare us to
Someone
smaller
called
towns.
us a little big town.
It was shoveling our streets. We need to be like Garrison.
Okay, that's okay. Yep.
I thought that was just funny. We need to have our streets shoveled downtown and all that. I just thought it was funny. Hey, we're getting compared to the small town now instead of the big town. But anyways, so there's been talk about it. There's been all this stuff going on around it. And Blessing's like, fine, we're not making any progress on reallocating the 0.5% sales tax. Why don't we just go ahead and vote on the other one then?
because we have the purview to.
Right. We have the purview to do this.
Yep.
And it keeps on being presented in the back of the mind or room that, hey, this is an option that we have. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the option. And so they flesh it out and have it go down. As Mayor Mark Gentry said, that's a lot of red.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm interested.
Nobody voted in favor.
No, it was 0-7. Yeah. I look forward to the future next couple months if Alderman Pittner tries to bring this up again to do what he actually wanted to do with it, and that was present it as a votable item for a referendum to the people. That's what I'm interested in.
That still may
seeing.
happen.
Yeah.
That still may happen. Deanne says we are only compared to other big towns when it suits them and their agenda. Deanne, it was great to see you at the meeting last night, and I 100% agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt.
Yeah. So I think that's good. I think it was a, in my mind, maybe he would say differently. I think it was a political move just to kind of like get it off the table. Nobody anticipated that passing. I think it was a good move though, because now it's like, all right, if we're going to do that, we're going to go to the people. Let's go and look at what our options are. I'm kind of disappointed we're not reallocating a little bit of the sales tax penny there, but so be it. I personally, I know you and I probably differ on this, but personally, I think that we could go without putting aside money for economic development for a year or two. Maybe not long term, but just temporarily. I think we could do that. But that might not even be in the discussion.
Yeah.
So
No, my thoughts, just my personal opinion on it. I believe that the economic development funds should be lessened, but I don't think we should remove them.
yeah.
That's where I'm at on it.
I do want to give a quick shout out to the newsroom. That thing is still going to happen. So
It's gonna be fall.
if you're interested in doing it, one thing though, you say that the actual full newsroom may be later, but what we're doing, we have interviews scheduled right now. We're going to be having Rob Fuller on Thursday. That one's going to be live. We have an interview scheduled with Dr. Scott Fowle, which is with the Minot Public Schools superintendent there. We basically have a interview scheduled with interim city manager and now finalist Tom Joyce. And those are going to be one-on-ones that are not going to be live with Dr. Fowle and Tom Joyce. So if you want a question to be asked in those, make sure you go sign up for the newsroom. And we're going to be sending out an email to a form where you'll be able to go. It'll be optional to input your name. It would be better if you did. You'll have a higher chance of getting your question asked if you have a name. But I understand that sometimes people are like, no, I just don't want my name shown. And so we give you that. But you get to select which interview And so as we have more interviews, we'll add them to the list. But you get to select which interview, and then you get to put in your question. So you can submit as many times as you want. But that's something that is going on. So
another great deal, folks.
another great deal. So trying to go and help you guys to have just a little bit larger of a voice. Because at the city council, they talked about emails that they had received.
Yeah, they did. They mentioned that. They brought that up. Of course, there was the public hearing that took place. There's always the personal appearances. And I think getting your voice heard is a great and necessary thing and vital tool of our republic.
Oh, I agree. All right. So we voted down the
sales tax.
Sales tax. Us going through this, it may feel a little bit scattered, but honestly, that's kind of how it felt like.
We're going in order right now because after that, they went back to the VERF again.
They went back to the VERF, and at the end, they had to get clarification on the VERF.
Again. Yes.
So we don't even know. Like,
I don't even
Kyla and I
know.
were texting, we're like, just
give them the money.
give them the money. We know we're going to give them the money. But they didn't know. The problem was they were acting like they weren't confused, but it felt like city staff was a little bit confused on what they were actually asking money for. It wasn't very clear on that. Mind you, this is at midnight, so they're trying to run spreadsheets and get the right stuff.
Is it 1.6 or is it 3.2?
And it's just like this. Finally, we got it all figured out.
Yes, they figured.
So-
I was just texting him. I was like, man,
Yeah, he was.
just tell him to give him the money, but say it can only be used for vehicle or equipment replacements. And
Yeah.
if anything isn't used from it, then it goes back to reserves. And if everything gets used, well, too bad you don't get anything else.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I
use
was
your
like-
money wisely.
I was like, come on.
What if they did that though?
What?
What if rather than going and looking at every single line item, they said this: we're going to give you $3 million.
Figure it out.
Do whatever you want with it. We want to see receipts. That's it. And then all of a sudden they go like, okay, well, maybe we don't need the bomb truck.
It's an interesting concept. Like the city council, rather than requesting budgets from the department heads, gives each department a budget and says, this is how much you get. Figure it out.
Right. Because it seems like sometimes there's these decisions that they don't want to make. And so they bring it to council, and council has to sort through it, get all this background. And then, well, this makes the most sense to us. And so then they vote on it. Just vote on, and we're going to get told it's a terrible idea. It probably is, but hey.
It's an interesting concept that we hadn't thought of before. So now we're spitballing it live.
Coming off of a 7-hour council meeting where we talked about the VERF for like half of it. So, but there's other stuff that got hammered out. These new positions that were suggested. You had those quick
for
the new positions that were suggested. Finally, Blessum was going through. All right, let's go through these line items and just see what we want to do.
Because you have, so it was the new lieutenant thing that we were talking about earlier. Originally, Blessum, the new lieutenant and the admin position in the PD will link together because Blessum wanted to remove them both, and then Chief Fry comes back up to the podium and pretty much puts in his case for why he wants them.
Yeah.
Those two get approved at that point.
What was the vote on that? Do you have it?
It was. Must have been 7-2 because I don't have it.
It's 5-2
or 7. Yeah, either 5-2 or 7-0. But then
it seems like it wasn't 7-0.
It probably wasn't. Fry. I think it might even been 6-1, but I didn't write that one down. Then you had a failed 3-4 vote on the. If I'm reading my notes right, the analytics admin position failed on a 3-4 vote with Hayes voting with Hayes voting with Olson, Janser, and Pittner against it.
Yeah.
And then you have the final part of the motion, which passed 5-2, which was just some additional funding stuff for it, getting the PPE equipment and everything that they wanted to the PD and to the fire department. And then
they voted on increasing the number of unfunded patrol positions from 11 to 12.
There you go.
And that one passed 5-2. Fuller and Hayes voted against.
Okay. And so then after that, they moved on to a different position to potentially eliminate, which was, again, just generalities. It was an admin position in the city manager's office.
Yeah.
And that one had a little bit of debate. And the interesting thing with this is that it doesn't sound like this isn't one of those things that they're just going to not retain. It sounds like this was a removal of the position.
Let's go back to that one because I didn't fully hear because I found there was a motion amend to, there's just weird motions going on because of the deal. To not create. So amend. So right now the plan was to create a full-time advanced analytical administration position. The motion was to not create it.
Okay.
To
so
remove
that's where the
and that
confusion
motion
was.
failed.
Yeah. So that
3
means
to 4. So that means that it stayed.
it stays in still. Okay. Now we're on the same. That makes sense. I remember this again now. Sorry, folks. It was a lot last night.
Right.
And then so that second position, then that city manager admin position, that got voted to be removed 4-3.
Gotcha.
So that position is removed.
Yeah.
And
so what we found with that one was that there'll be now 11 people doing 12 people's work.
Yes, effectively. And now, on top of that, there was another motion to change sales tax allocations to be more flexible, to just put it very surface level on that conversation. Blessum wanted to be able to have the city use some of those funds a little bit more freely, whether it be in the Magic Fund, some economic development stuff.
Right.
That ended up passing 5-2. And then
Explain that one a little bit more.
with
You have notes on it?
my notes are very limited at that point, but from what I remember on it, it was a lot to do with economic development and the Magic Fund, and possibly even using the Magic Fund to pay for some of the vehicle replacements too. I remember
So
that was part of the
more
discussion.
flexible by being more open right now.
Yeah. It
When
is
you go and you
strictly
collect
for-
money, it has to be tied to, it goes to these 3 things.
Yeah, it has to be like primary sector development, economic development of some kind, or the third one.
Yeah. And so they're just trying to make it where it can be a little more open to what it can impact there. Okay.
Rather than just, instead of everything being strictly for that economic development, it maybe opens up a couple other possibilities.
Yeah.
And then the final one Blessum presented was he wants to have a lot of the reserve, because a lot of discussion last year was how Minot's reserves are likely over the state maximum for where cities should keep the budgets. However, one thing he mentioned yesterday is that, as apparently, according to him, talking to some state legislators, this is an ordinance from the state that has no teeth, and there's not really any repercussions for us being over. It's more of a guideline than a requirement kind of thing. So there's not like any kind of real hustle to have to get this off. But
if you go back to 2023, there was an analysis done by Ide Bailey that we were like $7 million, just over $7 million over the limit for how much reserves we could have.
Yep. Which circles back to some of those, I don't want to say tax refunds that we got, but property tax buy downs, I guess, from our reserves.
Some people call them subsidies.
Yeah. Onto our property tax bill from last year.
Right.
And that's where it started. Now this year, Blessum wants to do another $2 million onto that.
He has
and
a
then
breakdown that's actually like a 3-year, is it
4-year total plan, counting last year.
Because 2025 is already done. So
Yep.
2026, it's a $2 million. 2027, it's a $1 million. And 2028, it's a $634,276
allocation. Yeah.
Mike Hayes asked, if we're out of compliance, then why don't we just fix all at once? The concern was there's no teeth, so this is something we should do. But if we find next year that, dude, we have no money, our reserves are depleting fast, then it's not something we must do.
You still have that extra other $2 million at that point.
And so that's why he's wanting to do it over an extended period of time.
Yeah, which makes sense. I get that one. Then after that, that was the end of Blessum's motions at that stage. And that's when Scott Samuelson had his motion for the League of Cities, which we discussed earlier in the show.
Yep.
Then we finally, that was the end.
Yeah. No. Right before Scott Samuelson, that was the long VERF discussion.
Oh, yeah, that's when that came back up.
Banfield and Sorensen were both up there
trying
getting
to,
the numbers right.
so everyone could figure out what actually needed to be bought.
And they did.
That was, it just took
We'll
longer
pick on them a
than
little bit, but ultimately it was midnight. If this would have been 6:30, they would have been
wouldn't
sharp and ready
taken
to
as
rock.
long. Yeah,
Yep.
it took longer than it should have, because this was 6.5 hours into the meeting at that point.
Yep. We had 2 bathroom breaks. That's how long it was.
Yeah, exactly. There was 2. And so they finally got that VERF stuff with like the 3rd or 4th time around yesterday figured out. Samuelson has his motion, and then finally at like 11:55 midnight, 12:05, we're able to move on from.
We're done with 7.4.
7.4. This action item took like 5 hours.
Yeah.
Like,
What was sad was because it took so long.
there was no discussion on the city manager finalists.
City manager finalists. We have reached out, and we will get them. We will get them out when we get them, but we'll get some bios or something like that on. We know who David Lakefield is.
Yep.
We know who Tom
yes,
Joyce
if you
is.
didn't know, David Lakefield is a finalist.
I mean, you
city
should know. There was an
finance
article we
director.
put out yesterday.
Yes, he is a finalist for city manager.
Do you think it's going to make any interesting dynamics over the next couple of weeks?
I don't think so. I think the interesting dynamic may take place when the hiring happens.
Yeah, afterwards.
Yeah, that's when I think it
you
happens.
could be right. You could be right. I will say this. I think that both Tom Joyce and David Lakefield are very professional.
Yep.
And I think there's a very good chance that it doesn't affect anything. The thing I'm curious about, though, is obviously there's interest from Finance Director David Lakefield in the city manager position. If he doesn't get it,
No, don't say it. Don't speak it into existence.
no, I'm not going to quite sneak it into existence. There's a chance that Tom Joyce isn't going to be here for 20 years.
Yeah.
There's a chance he is. We're going to have this interview with him, and we're going to find out, right? But I think there's a clock. We'll put that on how much longer David Lakefield would be. But I will say this also. He would probably go private. He's not going to go. I don't think he's going to go to a different city and be city manager.
At that point,
He's somebody that genuinely,
if he's going to do it, you feel
he's a
like he's
Minot-
going to
he's
do
a
it for
Minot dude.
Minot.
Yep. So he would go private sector. But that's just, that's kind of like us on our trade deadline, kind of trying to figure out which trades are going to happen in the NBA. Like,
Yeah.
we don't know.
Exactly. You know something's going to happen. It's just
Yeah.
who goes where. That's the whole question on the thing.
So interesting thing to
So, yeah.
look at, though.
David Lakefield, Tom Joyce, and then third candidate, David Keys.
And we don't know much about him. Like I said, we've requested information to try to get something about him just so we can get that out there.
Yeah. So expect
And
to see that. And
I anticipate also that the city will be releasing something too, kind of detailing
probably their
all
own
three
little bio
candidates.
thing, kind of similar to that little thing they had with the chief situation too.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It is probably, I would expect that for sure.
So we got a great PIO that's already emailed me this morning. Got stuck at the office until 12:30 or later, and already
Shout out
responded
Jen.
to emails this morning. Go
Shout out Jen
Jen.
Clean. Then so that was passed 7-0. Everybody accepted that those were the three finalists.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah.
Hey, there could have been discussion on that though,
Yeah,
because
there
there's
could have.
two internal ones.
Genuinely, I feel, I guess, I don't want to say, I tend to lean towards if this wasn't 6.5 hours into the meeting, there would have been a little bit
I
of
lean to that.
discussion on it.
But let me ask you this: we don't know anything about this other guy, so it's unfair. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're only going to ask the question around this premise: internal or external hire.
Without,
They're all qualified.
Yeah. I'm going to say internal, but I'm not going to pick a side.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should.
Yep.
We don't have. Maybe we do that down the line. Maybe we don't.
Yeah.
When we have information on all three of them, I'm just curious if
As of right now, surface level of the whole thing, I say internal.
if they're all equally qualified, then an internal candidate would kind of be the thing that
That's
we'd be
my
looking
thought.
at. Yeah.
Yep. Maybe we'll hear and look at David Keys, and he'll blow us out of
It's
the
just
water.
like, dude, no, this is obviously the perfect fit.
Yeah, and I'll certainly unhesitantly run back on
Oh
that
yeah,
at that
for sure.
point.
Me too. But I kind of feel internal might be the best thing right now.
Gut feeling right now, I think internal's the move.
Yeah. That'll be something
And
to
then-
look at. The recycling program. Because that was something that came up at the midweek meeting
from
last
last
week
week.
that got pushed to this week or to this council meeting. And funny enough, Kyler and I were like, just table this.
Yeah.
Just table
It's
it.
12:15 at
It's
night.
not important right now.
Table it and call it a night.
And that did not happen
Nope.
until they talked about it for 20 minutes and then they tabled it, essentially.
Effectively, like
Yeah.
there was a 5-2 vote.
Yeah,
At
but
the end.
was it actual action that was taken? For some reason in my head, I had it that it wasn't actual action. It was just they were voted on like still refining something. But
Maybe they did.
Who
My
knows?
my very primitive notes at this point, being
Yeah.
6 hours in, I have discussion. I have passed 5-2.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, it passed. So
Yeah, the recycling conversation happened at 12:15.
yeah, you're right. Remove the mandate on recycling. Having
Okay.
April 26th is the opt-out period.
So-
After that, handle similar to swapping cans. So basically, that means in April, you no longer have to be part of the recycling program and part of the
Garbage program. It is-
And this is an area though that there was interesting conversations had at the dais because you had two council people that said, we received emails people saying that they had a certain feeling, and I should have written this down because the exact notes escape me. You had a third council person, and I know the names, but I don't remember exactly what he said. Yeah, but the rest of the email said, for the recycling, we don't care. We don't care what happens. It was something along those lines.
Yeah.
That's not verbatim. So
Yep,
don't quote me on
I'm
that.
getting that conversation back now. Yep.
Which was a really interesting deal because
Fuller
email
came
your
back-
but don't even get into names because we don't have the full quotes.
Okay, fair.
Unless if you can remember the full deal.
Actually, keep going.
Yep. The thing that's interesting is this email, and that's part of what we want at the newsroom, is to help support. We're not here to form your opinion. You do that. I like the old, and people won't like Fox, but they used to have, and if you were actually able to objectively stick to it, they had the slogan, we report, you decide. That's what I'm about. I'm not here to make your decision for you. You make your decision. We're just trying to tell you the facts. But I'm here to support you reaching out to your council people, or if it's a state deal, reach out to your legislators. This is a good thing that happens. And that's something that when the newsroom is fully launched, we're going to try to support that and try to highlight important things that are coming up that you can reach out to your council people about or your legislators about, because they do read the emails, especially when there's a lot of them. It begins to catch their attention and helps form opinions. And this is one that was interesting to see the different views on that. I think Kyler's trying to pull up the transcript on it.
Trying to find it. Yeah, I don't know
catch
if I'm
those.
gonna quite swing it here.
But it's something we can talk about with Fuller on Thursday.
Exactly. Yes.
But it definitely an interesting reaction to the recycling policy and to the feedback that came from the community on it.
And again, Thursday is going to be interesting. But you know what took place after that action item? There was a public appearance that still had to take place
there
last
was
night.
two people that hung in there.
Yep. So shout out Travis Zablotny, Lyons Eltinger. You guys stayed till the bitter end with that one. I don't remember what
And it was
they said,
better.
but
It doesn't matter.
yeah,
They were there.
they did it. They stuck it out, and we made it to the end as well.
That was where Leanne was talking about the snow removal.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, you're right with that. And
That
how
wasn't her full point.
not,
It was about budgeting, but she was mentioning that in the downtown local businesses have to pay.
And then she also mentioned about how that like vine cleanup took place.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Yep.
Enjoyed that. There was a shout out for some city
Yep,
employees.
some
on that
city staff that went above and beyond her expectations to clean up a city sign of some sort.
one. Yeah. So, way to go! Shout out city staff. They need it.
Oh my Lanta, that was a meeting last night. Because
Good
after
time.
that, then they went to their liaison reports and called her a night finally at like
Yeah.
12:25. That was crazy. I loved it. I was all there for it. You could tell.
Yeah, that was a long way. Well,
any final takeaways, Jonathan, for it?
no, I don't know. I don't know if there's a final takeaway that I have on it or not. I think that it's kind of a weird deal because we have one more meeting left and this budget has to be figured out. And I really don't. I know that they will get some updated papers that will really help us understand where we're at on the budget. But I don't feel like we're close to having this budget hammered out. But
I think
they do.
I think we're close.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's not done yet. And
It's
I
not
think
done yet. But yeah,
The October meeting is going to be interesting.
I feel like this is how I feel. I feel like there's been a lot of big picture talk that's gone on, but it feels like there hasn't been the line items that have been covered.
Yeah, that's fair. A lot of the specifics maybe haven't been dove into with a lot of the stuff.
Exactly. And so
outside
that's
of like PPE and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the VERF is starting to get to that point. Like, and I
Or
guess
are we
that
just at this point, are we good with the majority of those because
It
they
could be.
come in at a lesser dollar amount or a minimal dollar amount at this point? I mean,
There was-
maybe that's...
one subscription we got rid of.
Yeah.
One subscription we got rid of.
And that, I think, is my biggest takeaway of the whole thing, is what is going to happen with that? Is it going to even make a difference in any way at all? Or
Yeah.
is there going to be a little bit of a, I don't want to say outcry, that's way too hot, but is there going to be some kind of a ramification or repercussion that unforeseen that comes back on us over
Yeah,
that?
and there could be some like kickback to the city on it, like feedback, negative kickback, not like a money kickback.
Yeah.
But but I think it's an interesting thing when there's actually action. It's a difficult position for cities to be in. Okay. They go and they have these things that they should do. And it's an interesting thing when they begin to go against those things because of principle, for better or for worse, whether you agree with the principles or not, whether, as Alderman Pittner said, this is a personal political deal that's bleeding over here, not a good look for the city of Minot. Whether that's the case or not, when action begins to be taken on the principle, I think it's an interesting thing because it goes and it shows the status quo that, hey, we're not fine with just being part of that. So we're one city, maybe we don't mean much, but if there's a few that start doing it, then what happens?
Yeah,
because there's not any city. There's not any, well, any would be too exaggerative, but there's almost no city in North Dakota that's fine with the 3% cap.
Yeah. And again, just to
think about that.
Yeah,
though. I know
crazy.
you need to move on from it, but think about that. The League of Cities is there to help be part of this, whatever. And there's almost no, at least for the major cities, we are hearing outcry about a 3% cap. And there's not much that they did about it.
And my follow-up for that, and again, I agree, and we're obviously in agreement on the cap thing for the most part.
Yeah, bounce it up.
But my thought with this is, at the time, specifically when Alderman Samuelson was talking about what he didn't like at legislative period, we were one of the only cities that was coming out against the 3% cap. So if at that point, if the majority of the cities, League of Cities constituents, cities are at least surface level on board with that, then in theory, should the League of Cities not be on board with that too? When we're the outlier to that norm? I mean, as a whole for that group, I'm not saying that that's the right thing for Minot, but the right thing for them to do at that point.
Yeah. Not wrong. And that's a thing, like even with the chamber, I'm not advocating for us to discontinue that relationship. I think that's a good partnership that is had. Okay. But when you go and you look at the $600,000 that's spent there, and you look at the $25,000 that's spent to the League of Cities and things, is there stuff that you can just begin to do internally? Like, at what point is that the better move for you to better affect the change that you need to make? That is going to be more in line with your values.
How about this one? If it weren't for the League of Cities, because I feel like that was part of the citation for where we found out about our new classification for city government, would we have been forced into a special election for a city councilman right now?
Right, because they were that's the truth. They were the ones that kind of gave we kind of see it this way.
So there's one thing
and there's training that they do, and there's other things that they do. We don't even know the full impact of the League of Cities.
I don't know the full extent of it by any stretch, so I can't speak too specifically, but there's one thing on it. And
going on right now, though, is the Ward County Commission meeting. They are getting to the end of their budget cycle as well. Tomorrow night is their budget hearing. It's at...
Wasn't it tonight?
I saw a date that said the 17th.
Okay, I'll go with yours then. I think I'm just thinking because normally they're on Tuesdays.
Yeah,
so that's.
I thought it was going to be Tuesday as well, but I saw something different. Nonetheless, they had their hearing coming up, and that's something that, if you're passionate about the city budget, you probably should be passionate about that budget as well.
Yeah, that if you are a resident of Minot, that county budget impacts you every bit as much.
Yes, so that is coming up here. Next day or two.
It's in the evening, so everyone can go. They're going to hold it at a little bit later time because normally their meetings take place at 9 or 10 in the morning, and so instead of having that same time frame where a lot of people aren't able to get to it in the middle of the week, this way they're going to be taking place in the evening, so it can hopefully allow more people to show up.
Absolutely, and I'm trying to find what I saw. But I'm not going to pull up code. I'm pretty sure it said this. I know it did because I was going to go to it.
We're going with it.
So,
final thoughts, Jonathan?
Here we go. Ward County Public Budget Meeting is
found it.
On the 17th at 6 p.m.
Tomorrow at 6. Make sure you're there. We'll follow it. I'll try to watch it for Thursdays when we have Rob on, and I look forward to it.
Yeah, 17th at 6 p.m. And then today is the Ward County Commission meeting that's going on right now.
Yeah.
So
their regular scheduled meeting currently, and then the budget meeting tomorrow.
Very good.
I love it, Jonathan.
Well, stay in touch. You just call me John. Is that first?
I told you Jonathan.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't hear you finish it out. Stay tuned to these budget updates. Tune in Thursday to get some feedback from Alderman Rob Fuller.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows who we're going to have on next week? We don't know yet. We're going to have some one-on-one conversations coming out.
Don't we have Jose on again next week, or is that 2 weeks?
We might.
'Cause we,
I know
we-
he's at the end of the month. He's
okay,
the 30th.
2 weeks then. Okay, easy enough.
We actually have 3 weeks or 3 shows that are unfilled, and maybe we'll go and have more aldermen on
Yeah,
live.
get a
talk
city,
about-
county commissioner on again.
Yeah, budget season's coming down.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching today's episode. Be sure to join that newsroom. I think it's going to be could be really impactful if we get the support that it needs to make it happen. So go to that link. I did drop it in the comments. You can sign up, become part of that. Otherwise, like and subscribe. Thank you to everyone that has done that over the past bit. We really appreciate it. We're still trying to hit that 1,000K
We're so close.
subs by the end of the year.
We're so close.
We're less than 75 away.
Gosh, remember when I started, we had like 200 or something. We're so
Buddy,
close.
you made a big impact there.
I don't know if I did, but we have.
We have.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for liking and subscribing, and be sure to continue to do that. Follow us along as we continue to do whatever we do. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.